Okay, hello everybody. We are finally back. I've been away for a few months. My wife and I actually had a baby, so it's been pretty tough to not just play Magic, but especially recording. Takes a lot more time. So back at it though. I've been playing a little bit of tokens this week. I been testing out an Esper shell that I'll share in a minute. But this is pretty baseline. Again, kind of like the last ones we were doing. I'm testing out more Lilianas, not History of Benalia, mostly because I think History is what I'm going to be playing in the future, including the GP coming to LA here in about 2 months, and hoping to play tokens there and play it with History of Benalia. So before I get there, I wanted to exhaust all of my options here. So been playing more Liliana. Almost went up to 4. Kind of debated. Very good in some matchups, and I think I might still try 4 because when she's a really good Magic card, especially in the modern format. Well, I should say in modern Legacy, whatnot, like non-rotating formats, older formats, she's done very well. Clearly, I think 4 is interesting, but to maximize her plus some collective brutalities, obviously Lingering Souls goes well with that. But I've always wondered if Nearheath Chaplain was something worth playing, just from that graveyard ability, pretty good, and being able to do that out of the graveyard when you got value out of it, or you had to discard it to Liliana anyway, where that obviously behooves you to both discard, assuming the matchup you want the Liliana in, but also if you're getting value out of your discard when your opponent likely is not. Also, 4 mana 3/1 lifelink, not necessarily dead in a lot of matchups, a lot of creature matchups, or even not creature matchups. Just having something to chip in there for 3 life is good with a Bitter Blossom Thoughtseize deck. So figured we'd give it a shot and see how that works out. The problem is just if you don't get to pitch it to a Liliana or Brutality, it's not so great. And I've got some other ideas to where this would be interesting. Other than that, 1 Spectral Procession, 3 Planeswalkers, going with Gideon instead of Sword and Lord of Innistrad. Obviously Lingering Souls, 1 start to finish just as a threat. 4 Virtue, 3 Blossoms, 2 Brutalities I've been doing. 6 discards, 6 removal has been pretty standard for me. And then going for main deck, Zealous Persecution, mostly for humans and spirits, and as a way to deal with those creatures. And instead of putting an extra Fatal Push in, this is at least something that, if you're playing against a Tron deck or a Blue-Eye Control deck or something where your removal spells are pretty dead, it can at least maybe punch in for 3 or 4 extra damage. So it has some potential utility there. Sideboard has been pretty standard. I'm up to 1 Settle, 1 Damnation is kind of what I think is okay now. I'll go into my Esper build in a minute, but there's definitely been times where just Settle's been really good. It's really good against Hollow One and obviously Dredge and the new Phoenix decks. Much better than Damnation and all there, but Spirits as well, just to go around Selfless Spirit. But there's many matchups, still humans for sure, because they're not necessarily attacking with other creatures all the time. You want to be getting rid of actual everything. You got your Counters Company decks and things like that where the value of their creatures is not in attacking and it's just in them sitting there. So sometimes you do want to just get rid of the whole lot of them. Basilisk Collar again for creature decks, spirits, humans, a way to gain life against burn decks. I there's something else relevant that's eluding me right now, but where this has been pretty good. Even just like Jund decks, Abzan decks is pretty good against Tarmogoyfs and whatnot. And then going for Damping Spear. This card has been played a lot more than I expected it might over the past 6 months. Obviously, everyone was kind of unsure. It looks like a slam dunk, but people were unsure about its actual utility. I've been seeing a lot more people play it, and I have not been playing much Modern in the past few months. Have not been able to test it out very much, so figuring I'd test it out here and see how it goes, because a lot of both token players that I talk to on Facebook and the Messenger group and all that, but also just a lot of people playing it in Modern in general, people playing it in Jund decks and whatnot. So no Rest in Peace. Mostly, I've got three of surgical effects here, and I want those to be able to hit. Also don't want to lose out on Chaplain and Lingering Souls and whatnot. So that's the current configuration. The Esper list I've been playing has not gone over so well. I think a lot of things need to change. If you guys are interested, I do have some matches that I did record with this deck that were actually some were really uninteresting and just didn't go well, but there were some very interesting matches that did not go my way, but the gameplay was great and the matches were really, really close. So let me know if you guys are interested. I will post these as well. But kind of the thought process with this deck was just the fact that so many of our matchups can just boil down to, Bitter Blossom and Virtue, right? A lot of just having that out against a lot of decks is just game winning. A lot of decks just can't deal with this combo here. And if it's not Bitter Blossom, just Virtue and Lingering Souls, even just one Lingering Souls, is just a lot of vigilance flying in the air. So the thought process was finding a way that we could just maximize on this, more cantrips to draw into it, and then having access to counter spells in the back in the sideboard is something that we've talked about a lot and something that would make our deck a lot better. Also something like Search for Azcanta, again, just to dig for these 12 cards faster, and the effect is very relevant when we do flip it. Obviously, again, when you're scrying and if you want to dump a finish into your graveyard or dump a Lingering Souls into your graveyard, that's obviously free value there. But then Azcanta the Sunken Ruin, it's any non-land card, non-creature, non-land card, that you can search for, which is our entire deck. So this card is basically just Impulse, right? Just look at the top 4 cards of your library, or is that Impulse? Not. But anyway, look at the top 4 cards of your library and you pick one, right? In our deck, that's all it is. You pick a non-land card from there. So if you're digging for a Path to Exile if you need it, if you're just digging for another threat, if you're digging for a Virtue because you already have threats out, and you just need the Virtue, the card is very relevant. And it has been good. It's just very, very slow, right? And if you're playing against Jund or Blue-White Control, this card is absolutely fantastic. But if you're playing against the types of decks that we usually have trouble with, this card is just way too slow. So it's good because it really fits in with what this deck wants to do, with our deck wants to do. Unfortunately, it makes us better in our decent matchups and it makes us worse in our bad matchups. So it doesn't exactly work that way. However, something like Serum Visions and Search for Azcanta, the other side of the coin is, it digs us deeper into trying to find our Stony Silences and our surgical extractions and whatnot. Things that we, the kind of winning sideboard cards. So that was the thought process. This is going to be a project that I'll continue with in the future, and maybe what I want to be doing is just, playing an Esper deck, like an Esper Mentor deck or something like that, and Esper mid-range and not actually a tokens deck. But we'll get there. Blessed Alliance was actually really good. The combo of Blessed Alliance and Settle the Wreckage Having both was actually really, really interesting. I liked that a lot. And, you know, just playing with Serum Visions is just so nice. Again, I don't know that it's worth it. I don't think it's worth splashing in a deck like this, but after playing black-white decks and Jund decks my whole life in Modern, playing a Serum Visions deck just feels so good to smooth out your draws that way. So I had some fun there. Anyway, this is the deck I'll be posting matches for. Hope you guys enjoy and hope you guys learn something. Let me know in the comments what else you guys like to see, and we'll be back after the release of Ravnica Allegiance.